Hello, everybody. It's Friday, and that means it's time for the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John. John, how are you?
I'm great, Doug. You know something?
Wait. Listen to AM-1220 KHTS, your hometown station.
I was just thinking, nobody's listening to us.
Why?
They're all watching basketball. March Madness, baby. You know that.
You know, I was thinking the world's falling apart. You know, we could have an economic collapse.
But it's a beautiful spring day.
We got all this political stuff going on, but does it matter?
It doesn't matter. You know why?
It doesn't matter.
Michigan State lost. In case you're taping the game, I'm sorry, but guess what? Spoiler alert.
But
Michigan State lost.
But
a number 2 seed going down. Oh, wait a minute. We never talked about last night.
Number 6, the team I've been rooting for since I was 5 years old.
Oh. Well,
grew up a mile from the campus.
You know what's really funny?
They lost.
What's really funny is I knew that my alma mater, University of Maryland, was going to make the tournament. Okay? And I told everybody I knew exactly when they were going to be playing. They're probably going to start their game, I don't know, say around 2 o'clock Friday afternoon.
When you're on the air.
When I'm on the air. So this is dedication, people. I'm here for you. I'm not watching Maryland. Do not call the station with the score of the game. We're in media silence at this point in time.
So wait, are you recording it?
I am recording the game.
So you got to dash home after this?
I will dash home after this and watch the game in media silence. In my cone of media silence.
So wait a minute. Time out. You're blowing off. You're ditching work to go home to watch a basketball game.
No, I get to work from home.
Okay.
I get to work from home.
And how much work are you going to be doing during the game?
It depends on whether they're winning or losing. If they're losing, I'll probably be turning off the TV and doing a lot of work. If they're winning, I might be celebrating, but still doing a lot of work.
Who are they playing?
They're playing. This is the best part. Don't tell me that the NCAA, and we'll talk more about NCAA with Mr. Sports later on the show, but don't tell me they don't have a sense of humor. First of all, Bobby Knight, Indiana, Kentucky, they never play each other. Guess what? They both win their first round games. They set it up so they're playing. Maryland, their mascot is a terrapin, which is a mean, nasty turtle. I know it sounds kind of
I didn't know that.
Oxymoronic.
I never knew what a terrapin was.
And who do we play in the first round?
Who?
South Dakota State, I think it's South Dakota State, Jackrabbits. It is the tortoise versus the hare, and all I have to do is say, you know how that ended up. Thank you very much.
Yeah, or it's going to end up like the game.
Yeah,
Middle Tennessee State, Michigan State.
Like it should want.
Because what was Middle Tennessee State?
There's no way a rabbit runs. There's no way a rabbit runs.
A 15th seed beat a 2 seed. Is that what happened, John?
15-2. Yeah, hasn't happened very often. This is like sports before the show. Can we do the whole show on sports and just
just because it's escape.
It is escape. There's a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. I mean, it's the campaign. Your buddy is no longer in the campaign, little Marco.
He's not my buddy.
I thought he was.
Ted Cruz, my buddy.
Ted's your guy.
I tell you what, we got to talk about this next week, though. This manipulation from the upper hierarchy of the Republican Party to try to block
the establishment
Trump, try to block. And I'm not necessarily a Trump fan. I'm a Ted Cruz
fan. The establishment,
but what they're doing to Trump is not right. It is.
What are they doing to him?
They're trying to block his nomination.
Why couldn't they try to block his nomination? They're not trying to block it. They're trying to get somebody else elected.
Well, whatever. That's not bad. They're trying to manipulate it. Let the voters decide, John. Let the voters decide.
Don't you think that the rules have been manipulated? Don't you remember we talked about superdelegates? Don't you think that was them manipulating it?
That's the Democrats.
And don't you think we're
not
doing
our
the exact
side?
same?
Our side's fair.
Our side's doing the exact same.
They're fair and balanced like Fox News.
Oh, jeez, this is going to be a long show. 3 o'clock. Hey, if it's long for us, can you imagine the people listening? Whoa. It's probably long for them too, Doug. All right, you've been listening to Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John on AM-1220 KHTS, Santa Clara's hometown station. We'll see you next week. No, wait a minute. We can't do that. All right, we'll be back after these messages.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to AM-1220 KHTS. It's the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John. It's the radio digest version of the Santa Clarita Gazette for all you need to know to be in the know.
I need to know, Doug.
John, I'm a little intimidated. I got to be honest with you.
I need to know why you're so intimidated.
Because we got a guy here, our buddy Dave.
Yeah.
And I'm the only non-lawyer in the room.
I'm more of a non-lawyer than you are.
Except for the keyboard operator.
I'm the keyboard. You're or whatever so you like 1980s. I'm so not an attorney, though. Okay. So you want to introduce our guests? That's what I need to know.
You just said introduce him as Dave.
As Dave. Dave the attorney.
Dave.
Do you want to tell us your last name?
David Barlavi.
Barlavi.
Okay. Now, but everybody knows me as Cigar Dave.
That's what I was going to say.
All right, Cigar
He's got a big one right in his shirt pocket right there.
Yeah, that'll
never goes anywhere without it, right, Dave?
Yeah, you might enjoy this one.
Possibly. All right, so the question for you.
Yes, sir.
We have Doug on. Oh, Doug is on the left. He's on my.
Don't call me on the left.
He's on my left, and you're on my right.
Wow.
You guys should probably change seats, right?
No wonder I feel so uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so I wanted to know a little bit because Doug was like, "Oh, we got to have him on. He's got to have him on. He's well thought out, but he's very liberal." And I'm
I
going to
will
rip him.
disappoint you. Don't worry.
That's going to be very. We've set the bar very low, so you can't disappoint us. But all right, so here's my question. You would classify. I'm assuming you're a registered Democrat, or you lean towards the Democrat Party.
Very recently, registered
really?
Democrat. Yeah, I've been peace and freedom for well over a decade.
Peace and freedom.
Peace and freedom. You probably never even heard of it.
Can you elaborate?
No, not libertarian. Actually, socialist.
Socialist.
Yeah.
Okay. Why socialism? What started all this? Is this something that you just grew up with, or is this?
Well, there's a lot of people fighting for capitalism, so I figured I would fight for socialism.
Okay.
Because I believe 50-50 balance, plus or minus 5%, is the best way to have our country go forward.
50-50 of what?
50% socialism, 50% capitalism.
Okay.
Too much of anything is not good.
It's not good.
So to be off balance either on the capitalist side or on the socialist side is bad for the
But
country.
don't they
So-
kind of conflict with each other?
Not at all. Not at all.
I mean,
you have public schools and private schools, socialists and capitalists. They both get along just fine.
Okay. So, that's interesting. And so you switched to Democrat. Why?
Oh, because of my good friend Patty. I can never say her last name. Scalpizio.
Yes.
Scalpizio.
Yes.
Yeah.
We know Patty.
I
We know Patty.
really got to know the local Democrats helping Lee Rogers in his campaign a few years ago, and really grew closer and closer to many of them. And then when we started fighting for No on S, then I got really close and very friendly with a lot more Democrats and a lot more Republicans too, actually.
Well, no one else that was the billboards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cross-party.
There was, but
yeah.
in that instance, I became friends with a lot more Democrats in the Santa Clarita Valley, and I just really grew to love and admire them to the point where when Patty asked me, there was just no thinking about it. I said, okay. No problem.
Well,
I didn't feel like I was giving up my principles.
Right. Well,
so I was doing it for my friends.
That's a very good point because I'm trying to educate Doug here a little bit. Okay.
Wow, good
'Cause
luck.
he's-
How long do we have?
I said a little bit. Okay.
Don't start me already, Dave.
I think I started on you. But do you want me to stop? No. Democratic principles. If you were to give me a couple of them, how would you define a Democrat for somebody who, like Doug, who is obviously not well versed in that?
Sure. I would say we're against preemptive war and against almost any war that does not involve protecting our own borders. I would say we want to protect workers and their wages and their benefits. We don't want to hurt. We don't want to hurt businesses, but there's a balance that needs to be struck. CEOs used to make $5 million a year. Now they make $500 million a year, while workers' wages have stayed stagnant for the last 30 years. Those are the things we fight to change.
Doug, stop.
I didn't say what?
You were about to say something.
I'm just
He's
sitting here.
kicking me under the table.
He's gonna explode in a second.
No, I'm not.
We'll give him the
I
ability.
promised my wife I'd stay calm.
You can stay calm. We've got the blood pressure cuff invoked. So, all right.
Women's reproductive rights, very,
Okay.
very important to us.
Okay.
Civil rights, Black Lives Matter.
Well, don't all lives matter? We'll get to that. Sorry,
okay.
I just violated my own rule.
Yeah.
Dang it. All right. So do you mind if we pick, Doug's going to have some stuff to yell at you about, I'm sure.
I'm not going to yell.
Okay, get snarky about.
I'm not gonna.
Yeah, Doug, you woke up snarky.
Let me ask you a question, Dave. What letter grade would you give President Obama on his job performance for the last 7 years?
A-,
Okay.
Why an A-?
as opposed to?
A+.
Gitmo. He hasn't closed Gitmo yet.
Okay.
He still does extrajudicial assassinations and with the drones.
Oh, the drones?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And let's see, what else? Yeah, those are the top few.
Okay, so you're going to give him an A- despite the fact that we have a record number of people on government assistance, a record number of people on food stamps and welfare. He's increased the national debt, what I think, and many experts think, is one of the biggest issues that we face. And by the time he leaves office, the debt's estimated to be at $20 trillion, which is a high figure that it's unfathomable. You can't even think about it. And he has overseen the growth of that. The debt that he's accumulated is more than any presidents combined.
You know, I don't know whether what you're saying is true or not true.
Oh, it's true. Trust me.
Let's not even discuss whether it's true or not.
Just assume.
But let me just say that I don't believe that President Obama is to blame for those things. I think he's actually responsible for solving many of the ditches, perhaps even chasms that Bush got us into, and that without his work, we would have been far, far deeper in trouble. I mean, we were losing 800,000 jobs a month when Bush went out of office, and now we have 5% less than 5% unemployment.
Wait a minute. Hang on. Now I have to interject because this is one thing that I found out, and I didn't know this, and I thought, okay, well, unemployment numbers, you see them on the news, just like the Dow Jones. I remember watching as a kid, oh, the Dow Jones is up, everybody should be happy. Well, the Dow Jones is a select number of stocks. It doesn't mean that your stocks went up.
It's a 30.
It's just 30 stocks.
Dow
That's
30,
it.
yeah.
It's, look at the S&P 500. That's 500 stocks. That's a broader indicator. Same thing with the unemployment numbers. Did you know that there's a labor participation rate? So the Bureau of Labor Statistics comes out with, oh, look, there's less people in unemployment.
Yeah, you know, I'm not an expert in that, but what I can tell you is not what all the intricacies are, but as long as they're done consistently through the decades. I mean, as long as they haven't injected a brand new rule to make it look better than other years, then there's no issue with me.
Yeah.
But if you have an issue with the way it's done and don't like the way it looks, you don't think the way it looks now is correct, you have to compare it to how it looked when it was at 9 or 10% and see if they manipulated it somehow. I don't believe.
But Dave,
they
I
did,
guess
that's
why I
the
would
issue.
give him not a passing grade because he hasn't addressed it. Let's say I give it to you that it wasn't his fault that the debt is where it is at now. To me, a true leader in today's, because it is such a severe problem, it should be addressed. He should look the nation in the eye and say, folks, this is a horrible, horrible problem, and we're going to have to make huge sacrifices to take care of this problem.
Yeah.
But he just keeps adding to it. He makes no attempt to cut it.
Let me put it to you this way. If I was to go into debt and rebuild the house of my neighbor that's a block and a half down the street, my wife would be really, really mad at me, okay?
Right.
But if I were to go into debt to fix up my own house and make it look pretty and nice and livable and more livable, my wife would be very happy with me. That's the way I look at it. If we're going to go into debt, it's better to go into debt building our own bridges, making our own schools better.
Let me stop you there.
Giving health insurance to Americans rather than bombing countries and then rebuilding them and doing it that way.
If your wife, if you guys were insolvent because you were in too much debt over your head and you got your house foreclosed on and got kicked out, she would be upset.
True. But the way you get out of those situations is sometimes you have to invest in yourself to get yourself out of it. For example, if I put $20,000 into my house, my wife's value, my house's value. You're not recording this, are you?
No, I'm sure she's not even listening.
Wait, what's her
my
name?
house's value goes up by threefold. In other words, by 60,000 versus
theory.
20,000. And so if we go into debt to create jobs by building infrastructure, not only do we get out of the bad economy that we were dug into by Bush, but we also have new bridges and new roads and railways and things of that nature.
So having said all that, and coming from a socialist background, I hope that's okay. I'm assuming you're a Bernie supporter?
I'm a burner.
You're a burner.
I'm a burner. But I don't mind if Hillary wins. I mean, I would be sad, but I would vote for Hillary without batting an eye.
Interesting. All right. So
Because I'm also a feminist. Oh,
well, at least one of at least you're voting for. Wow, no, she's not a feminist. Do you really think she's a feminist?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, she's a feminist.
What, Dave? Wait a minute. When her husband had multiple affairs, which are documented, has been accused of raping 2 women, and his wife goes to those women and tells them to keep their mouths shut, not to interrupt the Clintons' political life, she's a feminist?
Okay, so feminism, I don't think you quite understand feminism. Feminism
No, but I
does
understand
not-
hypocrisy.
No, feminism does not get into people's personal lives. That is the antithesis of feminism.
Okay, so explain to us what you think. Why you
Feminism
think Hillary
fights
Clinton's a
for the
feminist?
rights women and men, believe it or not, to have equality and to be able to exert their rights and have the same freedoms and liberties as other people. What you should be thinking about is if a spouse does cheat on a woman, she now has the choice, the opportunity to do whatever she likes to do in her life and lead it the way she wants to lead it without having her decisions be stigmatized and her be criticized for it. Now, if she went out and hurt other women, that would be bad because that would be anti-feminist. But when you make decisions personally in your own life, feminism has nothing to do with that.
Okay. So let's go back. Let's go back to your support for Bernie. Is that all right, Doug?
Yep.
You all right with that? Okay.
Yep.
I have a hard time with that because I was sitting there watching one of I think Obama's first inauguration speech, or maybe it was a campaign speech early on with my oldest daughter, and she's sitting there watching it. Well, that sounds good because he's promising all kinds of stuff. Free this and free Medicare and free this and free that and free that. And she finally stopped. She reached over, she paused the TV, and she goes, "Dad, how do we pay for all this stuff?" Isn't that the same issue that Bernie's going to have? He's going to raise taxes on everybody?
No, my understanding is that he's going to raise taxes on the top 1%, and they're only by 2.5%.
Okay.
So it's not going to be anything that's going to.
And that's supposed to pay for free college for everybody, and the Obamacare deficits, and Social Security forever, and I'm sure he's going to do some other free stuff.
Well, other countries are doing it. Yeah. Many other countries are doing it.
Those countries run out of money.
Without any. Actually, they're not. I've visited a few of them recently.
Greece
and
did
I
it.
wish to visit more even. Okay, so here's the thing: you have to subtract corruption from the system. If a system is corrupt, and I'm not talking about political disagreement type of corruption. I'm talking about literal corruption in the system. That can hurt any system, whether it be capitalist countries in Africa or socialist countries in Europe.
So we're going back to Citizens United.
We're going back, yeah, but I'm talking very high level corruption, like in Greece, okay, or in some Eastern European countries. That level of corruption can destroy any economy. Doesn't matter what it is. But when you have an economy like ours, or Canada's, or Norway's, or Switzerland's, or France, or those countries where the corruption is minimal, then yes, you can pay to have services for your people without. So
it sounds like you would prefer big government over the open market.
I believe in a balance. I believe in a balance of open market and government.
But do you believe we should have a huge tax reduction?
Tax reduction?
Yes, and reduce regulations on businesses?
As far as cutting taxes,
corporate taxes,
I believe in cutting taxes on the middle class.
What about the corporations?
Depends on how big a corporation they are. If they're big multinational conglomerates, I don't have a lot of sympathy for them. But if if you're talking about mom and pop corporations, what's called close corporations.
But how do you feel about the corporations that have left our country because they're overburdened by taxations and regulations? So the Carrier air conditioning company is moving to Mexico. Apple produces their products in China just to reduce costs.
Yeah, I think that's why we need to have trade deals with other countries that are fair to them and to us.
So you're a Trump fan.
So those things don't happen.
Wow. That's a little scary. So, all right. So I'm assuming that you haven't quite given up the whole Bernie's going to be the Democratic nominee thing.
It's going to be tough. I'm a Cowboys fan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So yeah, before every season begins, we're going to the Super Bowl,
right?
And until the last second of the last game, we're still going to the Super Bowl. So
even with 2 wins,
exactly.
Even with 2 wins, yeah.
I believe to the bitter end.
Even 2 wins and no quarterback on your team.
But I'm also a realist, so I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so because I still have problems with the Clintons. Although they are fascinating, I have problems with Bill because he lied in a deposition, and I hate that because I take depositions all the time. Mm-hmm. I know that's not the area of law that you deal with a lot, but
have you ever asked such a question in a deposition?
Yeah.
You have?
Oh yeah.
You've asked someone?
No question.
If they've.
When somebody comes to me and they're alleging a psychological injury as a result of their employment, I get to go into anything.
I know, but you've asked them if they have gotten what is it called? Let's just say
sexual favors.
A B, yeah,
sexual favors.
And another letter from someone else. You have
because.
And you expect an honest answer. If they're married.
Well, gee, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and
Let me tell you something. If I was
opposing
opposing counsel in that deposition, there
Did he
is
say
no way
Wait a minute.
I am going to allow
He
my
didn't
client
say
to
no.
answer that.
That's the problem. He's danced
All right, we're not
around.
talking shop.
But anyway, all right. So, but that's in the past, and I think it does have a tendency to show a propensity for, well, the truth is exactly what I want it to be, which all good politicians have.
Yeah.
The problem I have with Hillary is that she's a little worse. I don't care what anybody says. The email thing is huge.
Or much, much better.
And yeah.
I mean, we can say anything we want, right? There's microphones.
Yeah.
Well, let's back up a minute.
We're not backing up. We're moving forward. We're going to Hillary now.
Yeah,
okay?
I'm talking about.
Okay.
If Hillary, what would you expect Hillary to improve upon than what Obama's done?
Well, I like she says, she wants to continue Obama's legacy and continue to better our economy and build our infrastructure, build our public school systems. I mean, listen, I am not one that's memorized all their things they want to do. But I do know that they are good people trying to do good for our country, and that they are not chicken hawks, and that they care about workers and much more than Republicans do. And Bernie cares a lot more than Hillary, but compared to Republicans, there's a huge chasm between Hillary and the Republicans.
So President Trump makes you move to Canada, is that what we're saying? Have you looked at property up there yet? I'm sure if we would have bought it before he gets the nomination, it's going to go up.
If you only knew how much I love my country, you would know that I would never move because of any absurd president.
Okay, so let's go a little bit more local. Is that all right, Doug?
Sure.
Okay.
LOCO?
LO's not loco.
Okay.
Loco.
I was going to say, we're already pretty loco.
Yeah, there is that. And nobody's called with a Maryland score. Isn't that awesome? I'm a media blackout, University of Maryland. Anyway, don't look. Don't say anything. Everybody's looking at their phones. Anyway, so I understand there's a congressional race. You picked Lou Vince.
I picked Lou Vince, yeah.
You're a big supporter.
I called Lou Vince and asked him to run.
Okay,
You're the guy.
I'm the guy. One of two guys.
Now we had
Lee
Mr.
Rogers did too.
We had Mr. Vince on the show.
Oh, great.
And I asked him, and I'll ask you the question that I asked him. I said, well, it's a large congressional district, which I think is actually just kind of silly.
It's huge.
It's diverse beyond comparison, and I scratch my head because it's got to be both size, population, and physical size, just unmanageable. What do you think is the biggest problem, the biggest issue facing Santa Claritians right now? What do you think what do you think is the biggest thing that we're concerned about?
There's several. There's CMAX. There's the Bermite landfill. There's Chiquita. We also, I guess the gas thing is too far away from us.
Yeah.
And if you want to go back a little bit, we have to make sure that we continue to fight against electronic billboards, and we need all our politicians to be on our side for that. But yeah, you know what? There's a tendency in the politicians in Santa Clarita to want to allow outsiders to come in and harm our community, and I don't understand it. And they want to do it for money, and I don't think it's good for our politicians to allow outsiders to come in and harm our community, whether it be Chiquita or electronic billboards or the carpetbagger who's coming in for Beverly Hills to run against Lou Vince.
What's his name?
Brian something or another.
We're not going to give him.
And I think we need to protect our community and make sure that our local residents are fighting for us and keeping out nonsense that wants to harm us.
Doug, any questions?
Well, when we asked Lou Vince that question, it's kind of along the lines that you're talking about. He said the environment, which is basically when you talk about what you're talking about is the environment. To me, it's all economic. As a small business owner, and the small businesses that I deal with, particularly like auto repair places, the amount of regulations, and even pest control guys, the amount of regulations that have been heaped upon these guys over the years is choking them economically.
I 100% agree with you, Doug.
All right.
All right, let's
100%.
stop right there. Okay, David, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks,
This has
Dave.
been
Thanks
been
now
fun.
my
for having
favorite
me, guys.
liberal.
You guys are terrific.
Yeah, you were my second favorite liberal. Now, well, wait a minute. Who was our favorite Democrat?
Charles.
Charles. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie was our
I
first.
love
Now I think you've bumped him up.
No. Charlie is.
It's
leaps
now a
and
tie.
bounds better
It's
than
now
me.
a tie.
No, Charlie.
But hey,
I
so
can't
all right,
even hold a
as an
candle to
aside,
Charlie.
let's give you the free plug, right?
Sure.
You want a free plug?
Wow, I'm afraid now.
People- no,
what are we gonna do?
If people need, you do estate planning.
Yes, we actually have a full service firm, but my specialties are tax, trust, estate planning, business, and our website is www.taxlyr.com.
There you
That's
go.
short for tax lawyer. Tax lawyer.
all right.
Anybody needs anything, we're here for
There
you.
you go. All right.
Cigar Dave, thanks so
Cigar
much
Dave,
for joining
thank
us.
you.
Thank
All
you,
right.
gentlemen. You guys were terrific.
You've been listening to Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John on AM-1220 KHTS, Santa Cruz hometown station. Go Terps. We're back after this.